Share my screen for a brief minute while I do some 3CSN stuff. So welcome. This is 3CSN's onboarding and student services using Google Classrooms. Thank you for joining us today. What brings us together today? Well, we want to make sure we create a sense of community in an online environment in order to support the work that we're doing right now to help increase student engagement and retention, to learn together in order to support our professional identity and development in an online environment, and to provide our 3CSN network with opportunities to dialogue, share, build, and strengthen knowledge, and engage in productive struggle in community. Our 3CSN mission is to develop leaders in California community colleges who have the capacity to facilitate networks of faculty, staff, and students for curricular and institutional redesign in support of increased student access, success, equity, and completion. And as we always do in our 3CSN events, we do community agreements. And these are some community agreements that we feel would be important to surface in order to create a positive learning environment for everyone here. So we want to make sure we share questions, appreciations, and ideas in the chat. Send private chats to co-hosts when need for support. So I am your support co-host today. I will be managing the chat room for Wendy, Dr. Wendy Rivera, and Kristina Gonzales as they do their presentation. Please keep yourself on mute if you are not speaking. Assume best intentions. Time to read the screen and process. Keep in mind that we're all learners and doing our best. Make sure everyone who wishes to speak has the opportunity to do so. And if you would like to add any more community agreements, please feel free to do so in the chat so that we can honor that community agreement. All right, so let me just give you, okay, I see one chat. Let's see here. Oh, good to see you too, Michael. Thanks for being here with us. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to introduce our wonderful colleagues, or my colleagues indeed, because they also work at LA Mission College. Let me introduce myself as well. My name is Bonilla Hein. I am a 3CSN coordinator and also full-time faculty in the counseling department at LA Mission College. And we are joined here today with Dr. Wendy Rivera and Kristina Gonzales, and I will now let them introduce themselves.
Thank you, Diana. Hi, good morning, everybody, or actually good afternoon. We're very excited to be here today. My name is Wendy Rivera. I am the Outreach Director at LA Mission College. I'm also an adjunct faculty member with Adult Basic Ed. With me today is Kristina Gonzales. Kristina, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kristina Gonzales. I am the Metas Director. I also coordinate the Summer Bridge Program, FYE, and adjunct faculty for Adult Basic Education. I'm really excited to be here today, share what Mission has been doing during this time of COVID. Hopefully, you guys will walk away with some really great ideas that we've already done, and now you just have to go to your campuses and implement them. So yeah, let's get started.
All right, Kristina, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Okay. And can you confirm that you see the presentation?
Yes. You want to put it on display? Oh, there it goes.
There you go.
I'm good. Okay.
All right. So I'm going to start with our online student services. When we were impacted by COVID-19, which we all were in higher ed, one of the first things that our institution decided to do is that we needed to jump on ensuring that we had a communication platform for our students. So we did this fairly quickly. We brought our committee together. Within 1 week, we had what we call our student services online. So what we decided is first, the committee decided what departments were the most important and most crucial for students to access. These are just some of the ones we decided on. From there, we started communicating with our PIO and his team, and we had one of our designers began creating these different pictures. As you see, these are all homemade, so they did take some time. I do admit that we did not have all of these when the first week started. We only had the first 4, which was admissions and records, counseling, financial aid, and the Student Success Center. We felt that those are the ones that we were going to get most of the foot traffic from our students. So we began there, and every day and every week, our creator had more and more up, and now we have about 80 to 90% of them up on our student services online. So this is what you'll find on our main webpage. So if any of you guys are ever curious, if you have access to a computer right now, you can go to lamission.edu. Right away, you'll see our banner. Our banner will display online student services. We want the message like, this is what we're at. We're here for you. And that was the biggest thing we wanted our students to know, is that we are not gone just because we moved to the stay-at-home orders, that we were here for our students. So once they click on that, it leads them to this screen, which displays all of these different departments. Once you click on one of the boxes, it takes you to the main page. A second thing that we did when we first brought the committee together is we ensured that all of our departments, one, went into their web pages and began editing. We made everything student-friendly. We had the COVID message display. We had all of our hours switched to virtual counters. We had a lot of the departments decided that they were going to move into Google Voice. If any of you guys have any other idea of how to communicate with students via phone, we're open to ideas. The only thing that we came up with was Google Voice. We did have complications if any of you guys have used Google Voice. Sometimes if you call too many students, you become spam, which was the thing that we were affected by. We had to create new accounts. We couldn't text too much. We couldn't call too much in a day. But for some of the departments like financial aid, admissions, or counseling, that could be a better tool. For the Student Success Center, we were calling students because we decided to do what's called a call-a-thon. So we actually phone banked 7,000 students in about 4 weeks. That's something that was very unique to LA Mission College. I'm very proud to say that. I know we were the only college in our district to do that. Like I said, 7,000 students. Doesn't mean we were able to talk to all of them. We did get a lot of voicemail, but students were at least listening to these voicemails. So that's kind of the hiccups that we had with the Student Success Center in regards to Google Voice, but we have different methods. The point of all of this was communication. How do we communicate with our students, and how do we make it easier for them? Not necessarily for us, but how do we make it easy for them? So in part of that process, we ended up, Wendy, if you want to click onto the next one, is we incorporated Cranium Cafe. Just to give you a little insight on this, Cranium Cafe was something that our counseling department was working on prior to COVID-19. This was something that they were going to implement, I believe, in the fall. Diana, if you can correct me on that, I think it was supposed to be implemented. But because of COVID-19, we were lucky enough to have a Cranium Cafe expert. Her name is Leslie Fernandez, where she was able to get everything going with, I want to say, a week. We had all the departments on Cranium Cafe. We had departments, individual members, counselors, staff ready and equipped with their Cranium Cafe. Now we had complete access to students, and students had complete access to us. So we moved very quickly. Cranium Cafe is a platform. It's designed specifically for student services. It's an in-office experience for students who are off campus. So the point is that they still get that same interaction if they're not with us. It's immediate assistance and support for students. And I'll kind of talk to you about what it looks like. It's the ability to chat or meet face-to-face. It's really up to the students. We know not a lot of students have webcams, so we have the chat tool. So it really depends on also whether the student's comfortable. Not everybody likes to show their face. I think at this point, we're all kind of used to it. But students, they still get a little worried. So we wanted to make sure that they had that ability. Also, we were able to create interactive workshops, which Wendy will go into. This is probably one of our other big successes at Mission College is our ASAP workshop. And that was a huge collaborative effort between outreach and counseling. And I know Diana had a big part in this, and Wendy. So we're definitely excited to share what we did with the ASAP workshop. And keep in mind, Cranium does have FERPA and ADA accessibility compliances. So we have that all incorporated. Keep in mind, Cranium Cafe is an outside source that we, I think it's the district invested in for our campuses. And luckily, they did that really early on because this has become one of our biggest tools. If you see here right in the corner, this is what one of our windows looks like. You could display a picture. Some people have pictures of themselves. We have logos of Mission College. This is actually one of our Student Success Center windows. Student Success Center is our main place to go. It's kind of like our triage center at this point. It's where we probably get most of the foot traffic. Students When we are in hours, our virtual hours, you'll see that it's online. Students have the ability to knock on the door. And then I think, Wendy, the next slide may show a little bit details of what it looks like. They knock on the door, it starts a chat, and then they're able to communicate with the person on the other end. At the Student Success Center, we have what we call SSE student ambassadors. They're the ones who are manning our windows. So students log into Cranium Cafe. This is an example through online counseling and live chat. As you see in this picture to the right, this is what our directory looks like for student services. As I mentioned, all of our departments as well as staff have their own cafe windows. It displays all of their information as well as their a phone, if they have some type of phone, if they have a Google Voice number, and an email that they can access as well. This also became a really good tool for our student workers. In the beginning, there was a lot of complications. Are student workers working? They're not being supervised. How can we guarantee that they're doing the work? One way that we use, and this is just one of the ways, is that through the Cranium Cafes, we can see if they're live. We can check in at any moment. We want to make sure you're working. It does have back inventory where you can go in to see the times that they're logged in. So our Dean of Student Success had access to all of that when it was able to check whether our student workers were on Cranium Cafe or not. So that's another way to utilize this platform. As mentioned, there's a lot of resources, and it can be, this is what the live chat looks like in the left corner. So it can be a live chat where you're just communicating, or a video chat. And the video chat goes in through the lobby. We recently decided to create what we call Eagles, virtual registration events. Another thing that we're very proud of. We're proud of a lot of things at Mission College. That just started yesterday, and we use the Cranium Cafe lobbies to actually implement that registration event. What students do is they click on a specific link that was created. It takes them to our lobbies, depending on what department: admissions and records, financial aid, counseling, and student success center. They go into the lobby, and then one of our student workers will click on them and then start the conversation to see what they need help. If they're in the wrong lobby, they're able to redirect them to the appropriate department. So far, we've had one. It was a little slow, but we anticipate it picking up in the next 6 weeks. We have 6 events every Wednesday on our Eagle Wednesdays. So that's why we really tapped into that. That's pretty much our online services in our Cranium Cafe. We felt that it was very important to set up the space that we've been working in. How Mission College has done it, every college has taken a different approach on this. This is the approach that we've taken, and we continue to adapt to new things. We continue to learn new things. We learn from best practices from each other, from other colleges and institutions. So we're really excited to be able to present this to you all. At this point, if you guys have any specific questions about these two platforms, please put them in the chat. I'll try to respond to as many as I can. Wendy will now go into really the bulk of our conversation, which is our ASAP workshop.
Thank you, Kristina. So one of the ways we have to address the needs of our students is abbreviated student educational plan, which is our students meeting with the counselors that first time, having that first interaction with a counselor. Our high school students were taken off guard, like we all were. They're expecting to come on campus to complete a senior activity. Typically every year we have a senior activity for our students. It's the first time that they visit our campus, the first time that they get to meet the LA Mission College representatives that are on campus from admissions, financial aid, counseling. So this time the students were caught off guard. What are we going to do? One of the things that we worked together in a collaborative effort was this abbreviated student educational plan. The counseling requirement is a requirement for all students. It's a matriculation requirement. And how do we bring something that we typically did in a senior activity to our 1,000 incoming freshmen? FYE, the Abbreviated Student Educational Plan Committee got together back in, I want to say maybe sometime in April, May, which consisted of our counseling department. So we had a few counseling leads. Diana was the lead, our career counselor was there, our STEM counselor, our department chair, our FYE director, Kristina, our student success dean. We're all part of the planning committee. How do we bring counseling to the students? How do we give them a special attention? How do we still host a one-on-one with them and ensure that they're speaking to someone getting the right counseling, the right advice, completing that requirement, which is required of all students. So Cranium Cafe was the platform that helped us bring this to our incoming freshmen. Again, Leslie Fernandez, like Kristina said, was very instrumental in this, as well as Angela Pan, Diana. We came together and built a Cranium Cafe platform classroom where we would be able to do our general workshop, and in addition to that, do breakout sessions where we were still able to not only provide general information and an overview presentation to the students, but also be able to work one-on-one with the students. Like Kristina mentioned before, Cranium Cafe gives us the flexibility to do one-on-one video chat with the student. So just online chatting, video chat. If they didn't want to do the video, they could do the chat, or we could also do the phone conversations with the student and help them build an educational plan for their first semester. The Cranium Cafe, a student educational plan, like I said, took a collaborative effort. We had about 10 counselors. We had 2 staff members, Kristina and myself. We had representation from other departments like the STEM department, our student ambassadors, kind of all hands on deck to support the students. We knew that when this platform or this activity was launched, we didn't know what the students' reaction was going to be, or how the students were going to participate in this. So we had, like I said, all hands on deck. We recruited students. So students who had applied from high schools to LA Mission College had already initiated the matriculation process by completing the application, LA College Promise application, orientation. So we targeted students who were active in the matriculation process. Also, any student who may not have been as active in the matriculation process or had just initiated an application, there was a different type of recruitment so that the student could go back and complete all of the matriculation steps. So there was some recruitment there, focusing or targeting our graduating seniors. Staffing, like I said, was counseling, our classified staff, student ambassadors. We had volunteers as well. Scheduling, we picked a time that worked for everybody, and 3 to 5 p.m. worked for most of us, or all of us. So we were all available. Some of us rearranged our schedule, our student ambassadors did, but we knew that bringing this from 3 to 5 to our student was the best time. At the time, most of our high school students were still in high school classes, so they were taking classes during the day or had some other activities during the day. So this was a really good fit in terms of the time availability for all of us. The event turned out to be a 2-hour synchronous counseling workshop. Through Cranium Cafe, students would log in, as Kristina pointed out, through Cranium Cafe using their student portal, log in credentials as a guest student, as a student or as a guest. The first part of the presentation, so the first 30 minutes of the 2-hour session, included a 30-minute general counseling presentation with an overview of course catalog, an overview of what the ASIP workshop, how to pick classes, general education classes overview. Summer Bridge was discussed briefly in that session. And once that general counseling overview presentation was completed, the students would then either go into a breakout session with a counselor, so a one-on-one, or the students would remain in the classroom to hear a general presentation or to participate in an interactive general presentation from Kristina and myself. That typically lasted about 40 minutes. Each session consisted of about 10 to 35 students. We serviced 169 students over 12 sessions. So again, the event itself consisted of a general counseling presentation, a one-on-one with a counselor, and an overview of the matriculation process with Kristina and myself as the outreach director and FYE director. The Google Classroom was a platform that was heavily utilized during the onboarding for our high school students. The Google Classroom became one of those platforms which the students or the high school students through LAUSD were already using to attend classes, complete assignments, attend activities. So a natural kind of transition to LA Mission College was to utilize the Google Classroom. Most of our LAUSD students had a Google Chromebook. So all or most students had a Gmail account. So because the students were using this platform at the high school, we built a Google Classroom which created a bridge between LAUSD or the charter schools or the high schools onto LA Mission College. So we nicely try to transition the students from one platform, then Google Classroom, then slowly into Cranium Cafe and Canvas. Similarities in the structure of these classrooms and Canvas existed, so students who participated in the Google Classroom and are utilizing the Canvas platform at the college, and we can talk a little bit about that later, found that the transition was fairly smooth. And then we'll talk a bit more about Google Classroom. Google Classroom is a way to bring all the students into one place. So all of our high school students were spread out throughout 20 different high schools, charter school, continuation school, LAUSD schools. So any and all of our student applicants to LA Mission College who were going through the matriculation process were placed into or added into an LA Mission College first year classroom. It allowed us to easily make assignments for the students. So all of the steps of the matriculation process were incorporated or added to the classroom as assignments to the students. So the student who was in the Google Classroom as a student was able to see where in the process they were in the matriculation process or what steps they needed to complete. It was easy for us to collect assignments. In our case, we were looking to collect information from students who were applying to LA College Promise. We were looking to see how many of our students were applying to the Summer Bridge program. So we had created assignments within Google Classroom to make sure that students were following through on the matriculation process to LA Mission. Because the students now had a Gmail account and because students were now in a Google Classroom for LA Mission, it was easy for us for all of the students not to have a drive or a Google Drive where they were able to save PDF documents if they needed to or any of the assignments. It was also an opportunity for us to track where students were in the matriculation process. So we're still in the process of monitoring the students' progress through matriculation. So we're still in the summer. Some of our students are in Summer Bridge programs, have completed counseling, but some have not. So this Google Classroom is giving us the opportunity to track which students have completed what process or what assignment. And finally, we're able to conduct Google Meet workshops or workshops through Google Meet within the classroom. So one of the most or the key factors in this process and not losing students as they transition from high school to college is to keep them engaged and active in some way or another. So they were very familiar, the students in the high schools were familiar with the student ambassadors, with myself, and we've now transitioned them over to Diana and Kristina as FYE directors, as LA College Promise directors. But how do we maintain that engagement and ensure that the students have something that's slowly transitioning to LA Mission? And the Google Classroom again became that platform, using also the Google Meet and workshops to introduce some of our LA Mission College representatives to the students. So by the time that they were at Mission and taking classes, a lot of the students have already seen Kristina and Diana, Tashini from the Transfer Center, and some other members from our other departments. So creating a Google Classroom, I'll go over this really quickly. It's fairly easy. You have an account. Most of our institutions have some kind of agreement or contract with Google. It's already included in that package, or we can create a Google Suite account, which is what LA Mission did. We created a Google Suite account. The Google Suite account had the capability of us to add and create classes on the Google platform. So you can create your own classroom, and as a student, students join the classroom by a given code, or you invite a student. The live classroom, so I'm going to do a really quick demo and show you what the Google Classroom looks like. I'll go ahead and exit out of this PowerPoint. You can have that here. So this is the Google Classroom. So I have a few classrooms. I have a high school counselor's classroom. So this is where I stay connected to the counselors, the high school counselors, and I provide them updates. I post updates on the Google Classroom to them. So members, each of these classrooms is by member only. So we give each member a code, like I said, or an invitation. So these are all high school counselors that are in this classroom. Then the classroom that we're going to look at is the classroom that our students are a part of. So the first component, the first part, the landing page of the Google Classroom is the mainstream. So this is where we post, or I post any announcements to our students. So for example, here I've posted a reminder to the students that if they have not completed an ASAP, I've given them the link to where they need to go. Again, an ASAP is the abbreviated student ed plan. I'd say about a third of our students have not completed that. So this is a reminder to them. And so they get a notification on their phone letting them know that the Google Classroom is notifying them that they have an assignment due. In addition, students have access to the stream. So students are able to post questions on here. So in addition to me posting announcements to them, letting them know what we have going on, another example here is we had another workshop where we had a transfer information session. It's early on in the process, but we brought on the transfer center director, and she presented about transfer opportunities to the students this early on. So letting them know, having that already that idea that if they want to transfer, they need to connect with her. So they've already met Tashini and the transfer team. So the director and the team from the transfer center. So students also post questions on here. So this student had a question and I responded to her. If the questions are very specific to the student, we take the conversation offline and direct messages each other. So through the stream, they can post questions publicly through the closed group, or we can also have a private conversation. So I will post that. So students will post information or questions on here, and that is through the mainstream. Now, in terms of classwork, this is where we assign students assignments, or where we do assignments for the students and they know what they have to complete. So we have a welcome for the students. We put a little welcome on there. Students have the opportunity to comment, and most of them are excited. And because the welcome is a video, most of them posted on there that they were excited to start mission. So they have an option to like and post comments on there. As representatives or as other students who are in the classroom, they can respond and react to any of the student comments. We have a Q&A, so students can post questions on here. So they have questions about matriculation, activities, or the process, they can just post their questions on here. One of the representatives or student ambassadors or myself will respond to the students. We also have what steps they need to take in the matriculation process. So one of the steps is the mandatory summer bridge program. We have instructions on what the student needs to do. Kristina will talk about that shortly. LA College Promise checklist, so students can submit a request to have their status checked. Financial aid information is on here. Another platform really used by us is the Grad Guru app, which is a notification app once the student is a matriculated and enrolled student on campus. Career assessment, so we have information on the Career Center here. Online student services, which Kristina already spoke about. And then we have videos on how to help you. So we have information for students here, videos to help them enroll in classes, how to find a registration date, how to set up their student portal, so on and so forth. They have different how-to videos on here. So this information or this classroom was presented to the students during the ASCP, or the Abbreviated Student Educational Plan workshop. So while the students met with a counselor, the other component, or the second or third part of the Abbreviated Student Plan workshop was this classroom. So the students aren't just added on here blindly. By the time they were added to this platform, the students had an understanding as to how the classroom worked. So this was presented to them, all the steps were presented to them, so that when the student left that Abbreviated Student Educational Plan workshop, met with the counselor, met with Kristina and myself, they were very well versed or very well informed as to what their next steps were and what steps they had to take. Other than that, I think unless anybody has questions about the Google Classroom, that's pretty much what I wanted to present on the classroom. Kristina, Diana, is there anything that, or Kristina, is there anything that you wanted to add on here?
No, you did a great job explaining it. Essentially, this is what we went through during our ASAP workshop. During the actual workshop, Wendy was the one that was going through the classroom, and I was monitoring the chat. So if there were any questions coming in or students were having trouble accessing this, I was able to do this. So I would like to note that in the ASAP workshop, it's always best to have 2 people monitoring the classroom, the Cranium Cafe, because definitely Wendy and I were doing a tag team situation the entire workshop. If there was something she couldn't answer or she was presenting and all these questions were coming in, which they do, I was able to tackle most of those questions as she presented. So it's definitely a 2-person job. That's the only thing I do want to note, that if you decide to go this step with the ASAP workshop, which in our experience, it was such a success and it was such a great collaborative effort between all of our departments, just make sure you have the staffing to be able to assist all of the students, because students have a lot of questions. I know as staff, me, Wendy and I, in the areas that we're in, we definitely wanted to be able to support our counseling staff and our counselors, because they're the ones going in the one-on-one, I guess, breakout rooms with them. So we were able to really help support them as they did that. And it was we had a lot of events. I think there was about 15. They do get, I don't want to say exhausting. They were fun. We had so much fun, but it was about 16 events. But at the end of the day, it was completely worth it, because it wasn't about us. It was about the student. And we can say with confidence that through all of the work that we did, we were propelling the students to success before they have even started a summer with us. So if you ask the students, I think they could agree with that. I feel like I'm a little biased because I think we do such great work. But if you definitely talk to some of our students, I know I've had nothing but great feedback from them. They just feel that we are supporting them every step of the way and that there's always someone there to help them. I know Wendy, Diana, and I work very closely with each other. If there's something that I can do, I'm reaching out to the 2 of them. If there's something that they need help with, I know they both have emailed me like, is this student in Summer Bridge? Can we get them enrolled? So I think the biggest key to all of this is collaboration. And I know we hear that often, but it is the foundation of everything we do. So the more you collaborate in a positive environment, in a positive way, I promise you it only equates to success every single time. So I just wanted to make that noted because we talk about it. I know I'm in a doctoral program. We learn about it. We talk about leadership. We talk about it, but it's often very difficult to accomplish in real time. And I think we're doing great at it. So I'm very proud of our team. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say about that.
Thanks, Kristina. We do have a question for Michael. He wanted to know, Kristina and Wendy, do you ever have students that skip the Google Classroom altogether and simply click into the LA Mission website?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's some students who bypass the Google Classroom. They don't have a Google account or they have no interest in being part of it. And they just go directly to the LA Mission website. I think that, like Kristina said, that collaboration and put the student services online together really has helped out a lot. So students who click on there, click on one of the departments, will find that it's easy, it's efficient, the students can navigate it around. And once they find someone or once they start speaking with someone, chatting with someone on the other end, I think the process for them becomes very fluid or very, very, it's facilitated. So yeah, students do that and they are successful. This component here of Google Classroom is that engagement component. So we have students who are very active on the Google Classroom. always posting information, asking questions. We have students who are really quiet, and then we have students who don't add at all. So equally as successful, this just adds to that engagement component. And that's pretty much it. I don't know if you want to add anything else, Kristina?
Yeah, and keep in mind that for students who do not participate or are part of LA College Promise, or maybe they're non-traditional students, they're coming back, we have created the Student Success Center, which will help with a lot of those students. I often use the word triage because they're the first ones to figure out what do the students need, where do we move them next. It's our welcome center, it's our triage center. That's what it's become since we've moved into the online platform. So for any student that doesn't go this way, they definitely still have a lot of resources on campus. I think we should note that this specifically was built to help our incoming freshmen, and more so with our LA College Promise students, because the goal is let's get as many of them through LA College Promise as possible. And I think at this point we're at about, and Diana, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think 1,000 incoming LA College Promise students. Obviously we need to make sure they're all eligible, going through the requirements, but for those of, that's just 1,000 out of 12,000 students we have on our campus. So that's really where the Student Success Center comes in, and the student ambassadors in there are trained to be able to answer any questions and guide them to the right departments. And if they don't know the answers, they have someone like me, like, okay, this is where you're going to send them. This is how we can help them. So we have opportunities for every type of student that we encounter at LA Mission College. And I know there was a second question that came in. What really is the difference between Google Classroom and Canvas? I think what I would want to say on that is that the Google, it's very similar in the way it's structured. Obviously, Canvas has so much more. I just finished getting Distance Ed certified. There is so much more to Canvas that I was so excited to learn about. Though, keep in mind, students don't get access to Canvas until they're in a course. So Google Classroom, a lot of our students haven't enrolled. A lot of our students, unless you create a Canvas shell specifically for these students, like I know Diana has created an LA College Promise Canvas shell, but that doesn't go up and running until they're officially part of the program. None of these students are part of the program yet. So this is a great alternative before moving them into the Canvas shell. And it actually gives them practice. Yes, it's not 100% compatible to Canvas, but it looks very much the same. It gives them the accountability to check in. It gives them the resources, the connection between Wendy. I know Wendy has built such great connections with these students and her student ambassadors. That's really what the biggest difference is. We have access to Google Classroom now. We don't have access to Canvas. That's really where the difference lies. Once they transition into a program, then they'll be able to fall into the Canvas shell. So I think maybe Wendy, you have more to add to that. I don't know.
No, I think you did it well. This is a bridge for them, and visually, I think that this is what they're going to be seeing when they go on a Canvas, in terms of topics and modules, and then the drop down. So visually, they get accustomed to it, and then they transition to Canvas, and they'll be familiarized with it. So if anything, I would call it a bridge and an opportunity again for the students to be engaged and early on in the process.
Yeah, and I would just like to further add that, because, you know, it was very smart of Wendy to use the Google Classroom in this way, because it's something that the students were already familiar with. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't like this great shock, you know, of, oh, I have to learn how to manage this new online platform. It was easy for them to, you know, just jump in and figure out how to use it. And like Kristina said, in order for a student to have access to a Canvas shell, they do have to have gone through that matriculation process and have gotten their student ID, because it would require them to log in with their student ID and password. So for any new student that hasn't yet completed that, then this is a wonderful solution to provide that online engagement. I wanted to ask you ladies a question. In terms of, so the question is, how would you introduce a student who didn't have an opportunity to do the synchronous type of orientation or onboarding or ASAP workshop? How would you introduce it to them in a asynchronous fashion?
And specific to ASAP?
Specific to like everything in this, like how would you introduce this to someone who wasn't there in the live ASAP workshop, or, you know, any kind of onboarding workshop that we provide?
I think that's a question more for you, Wendy.
Yeah, how did yeah, for any student who didn't attend a Synchronous workshop, we introduce it via email. We email the students, we let them know, here's an opportunity for you to be part of the classroom. The classroom is, and then we break it down for them. And we focus on the engagement, on connected to the college, an opportunity for you to contact an LA Mission rep who is going to be available for you in a quote unquote 24/7. So that's the selling point. The selling point, I don't like to use that, but the selling point here is for the student to click on and accept an invitation to a platform like this, is letting them know that LA Mission College is here for you. You're now part of the family. Let's get you in here and let's get you enrolled in classes. And so just building that connection and just remaining or maintaining that connection throughout. And then part of this is also not letting the student down too. So if a student is asking a question on this platform, making sure that you are responding to the student. So that's how I introduced it, Diana. Diana, it's just a matter of letting them know, this is, hey, this is part of college life, welcome aboard. And from there, slowly transitioning them to Canvas, to Summer Bridge, and the heavy duty stuff over at the college. But this is kind of like that little nice, less of a blow transition over to Mission when we don't have the opportunity to do it in person. Because like Kristina said, I'm very confident when I have a student in person and we're able to speak with them, present to them, interact with them on campus. Campus, it's very different. Doing it here, that's the easy way to, not the easy, but the kind of lessening the shock of the transition.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Michael is asking a follow-up question. Do you direct the students in the email to the Google transition or to the main LA Mission website?
I refer them to this. So I refer them to the Google Classroom and let them know as well that there are online services or student services online is also available to them. But when I send them the information, I send them the code or an invitation. So I direct them to this platform. I just feel that here they have everything kind of encapsulated as to what they need to do, and they have an email that goes along with that.
And the only thing I would like to add, I know this is, we really emphasize our synchronous ASAP workshop, but I would like to also introduce at this point our asynchronous workshop, which I know Diana was the pioneer and really got that going for our campus. Just to briefly describe ASAP, asynchronous, it's through Canvas. So Diana, and she built the Canvas shell with counseling approvals and all of that. Maybe she could talk a little bit more how she got that done on the counseling end. But once that was completed, she informed both Wendy and I, okay, the ASAP asynchronous workshop is ready. Then she gave us a link. And what I have been doing the last 3 weeks, I have been emailing students 5 steps to get into this workshop, how to complete it. The Canvas shell has all of these videos. Essentially what Diana did is she took one of our ASAP workshops, recorded it, and then broke it down into all these videos. So, you know, why work harder, right? Let's work smarter. Use what we already had, put those into modules, had all the steps. And with that, they had an ASAP, what is it? A worksheet that they work through online that's connected through our counseling department. So when the students complete it, counselors have access to that. They go through it, approve the ASAP, and then confirm that with the students. They send a confirmation email. So it's all of this process. But unfortunately, we can't do ASAP workshops all the time. It's not possible to keep these going. So it's one way that all of these students, like Wendy said, we have 1/3 of our students that still haven't completed an ASAP. So this has been that saving grace. Like, okay, there's not enough, there's so much foot traffic going to counseling. How can we offset this? And that was through the asynchronous ASAP workshop. So if you have more questions, I know you can direct them to Diana after our presentation. She really was the one that got all of this project up and running for our campus. And it's been such a great tool to have. And also when we finally do go back, which hopefully one day we'll be able to go back to campus, this will be something that we can utilize and continue to utilize. It's not just something that has to be from COVID life. It could be something that gets implemented into the foundation of how we really do things, especially through this matriculation process. 1,000 LA College Promise students, that's a lot of students, and it's one way we can, it's hard, and it's one way that we can do that. Thank you, Michael. Thank you. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure we talked about that, because that's another, I feel like I've been saying this throughout the whole presentation, that's another amazing thing that Mission has really brought to, I'm not sure if, Diana, you could correct me, are we the first ones to do this in our district, perhaps?
You mean the asynchronous ASAP workshop? I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
That's a good question. We have to find out.
Well, I'm gonna say we're the first ones. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. We're definitely one of the ones to really get this going. So a lot of applause to Diana and the counseling department for making that happen. Are we gonna move into the summer bridge program, Wendy, or are we still gonna go over the Google Classroom?
No, I'm done here.
Oh.
Yeah, and then anything like that, like just one other thing, anything like that that we're adding, or any exciting activities or new events, that's when we add it. So how do we inform the students, especially those who are here, how do we keep them engaged and up to date with everything specific to our first year students is, for example, through the stream. So all the students, they'll get the notification, the check-ins, the reminders. Have you completed LA College Promise? I know Diana, for example, has a deadline coming up for LA College Promise and laptop distribution, so they'll get those notifications here. So again, another incentive for them to accept the invitation to Google. So I'm gonna go ahead and move forward with virtual summer bridge. So,
Yeah.
okay.
So this is really the end of our presentation. We wanted to end it with talking about our virtual summer bridge. This is something I'm very proud of. I actually believe we're the only one in our district to actually pull off a summer bridge. I do coordinate the summer bridge program. In the beginning, when COVID first happened, I admit there was some people like, I don't know how we're gonna pull this off. And I was like, no, believe in us, we could do it. And we did it. And I'm really happy. We were able to create it's a three different programs. So I'm briefly going to go over all of them. So we have three options students can choose from. We have the 5-week program and the 4-day program. Within the 5-week program, we have two options. Students can either go down the English 101 pathway or the Math 227A pathway. So for English 101, students will enroll into a 5-week course, which both of these courses actually ended today, which is completely remarkable because I feel like we've been doing this for so long, I can't even believe the 5-week program is over today. But students were in an English 101 class. That included success support through the Learning Resource Center. So it's essentially free tutoring where there are SI leaders embedded to every English course that works closely with the professor to decide what workshops are needed for the students. So that was separate for me. The LRC director really worked on that and getting that collaboration. Students complete that in session A, and starting next week, students then do the 4-day program. So if you're in the 5-week program, you take both the credit class and then the non-credit intro to post-secondary education course, which is a 4-day class that I teach. That begins next week. Really what that course is to introduce all of our LAMC resources, make sure they know about like the Center for Wellness, make sure that they're all LACP eligible. We do have stragglers, so my team my team's a team of 2, so it's me and my student worker, but we're checking on making sure students are matriculated, that they're coded, that I'm working with both Wendy and Diana. We're making sure that they have everything that they need. They have their fall classes. So that's really what that class is about. I teach them about tools and tricks to get them through. We're gonna talk about Zoom fatigue, which I know we all have experienced ourselves as adults. We're gonna talk about netiquette, how to properly present themselves in an online form because it is very different. We're going to talk about just so many different things. It's a great course. So they take both of those. Option B is the Math 227A. So Math 227A, I know it's different at every college and every district. So this is actually our statistics course that was broken down into 2 courses. So they take A in the summer and they'll take B in the fall. These are for students who like really don't like math or like, you know what, I'm not super confident. Can I take it in 2 semesters? We have this option. So they take the lecture in the lab and then an academic prep course that was created and provided through our non-credit program in the math department, which was a collaboration. So it's basically opportunity for them to get additional support with an actual instructor who really helps them make sure they get everything done if they have any questions. And then they take the intro class in session B as well. Then the third option is just our 4-day program. We understand that a lot of students may not be ready for a 5-week credit course. Or maybe they just can't commit. We've had a lot of students who, even through COVID, are still working and are trying to provide for their family, and it's just not possible to commit to 5 weeks. So we have what's a 4-day program. All it is the intro to post-secondary education. They have 3 options. All of these options are in August, so they get to decide what class, what date they want to be in. They complete the 4 days, and keep in mind, for LA College Promise, it is a requirement to do the summer activity, and these are their summer activity options. So students complete the application. Once I get the application, I work on processing them. We do checks. Like I said, I work with Wendy and Diana to make sure they're on board. If they're not, I work with them to say, hey, they're missing something, matriculation, coding, fall enrollment. We get them on our Remind app. If you guys don't know what Remind is, I highly encourage you to use it, especially in specialty programs. It's essentially a texting app where you get to add students. They accept the invitation into your classroom. And that's how I text out quick reminders. Hey, if you haven't done this, hey, if you haven't enrolled, it's a great tool to use. I know K-12 uses this. I know community colleges are starting to use this. At our school, it's used by specialty programs. We can't use it on a larger scale. It's impossible. There are restrictions within Remind, but if you don't know of it or haven't ever used it, please look into it. It's such a great tool to have for any specialty program. And essentially, that is our Summer Bridge program. We are coming at the end of our 5-week, and we start our 4-day program on Monday, and it runs for, like I said, it runs for 5 weeks. Each week, I teach up to 100 students is the maximum per week. I think right now, one of my largest week is, I think 75 students. We maxed it at 100 students. And we did that because we're on the online platform. It's possible to have 100 students in a class. It's not possible on campus because we don't have classrooms big enough, but through Zoom, and that's how I'm teaching the class, is it's a synchronous course through Zoom. They get the Zoom links and we have class for almost 3 hours, and then everything, and I even go over Canvas. We do activities within that course. So I'm really excited to start teaching that. And that's our virtual Summer Bridge. So if anyone has questions specific to Summer Bridge, so when they say it's not possible, it is possible. We are proof that we could do a Summer Bridge all virtually. It just takes in a lot of time, a lot of patience, and a lot of work to pull it off, but students are reaping the benefits of all of our hard work. So I'm really excited to be able to present this to everyone in this. And that's pretty much all about Summer Bridge.
Thank you, Kristina and Wendy. We don't have any other questions in the chat. Any other final questions from our participants? Feel free to post them in the chat.
Thank you, Michael.
All right, well, then I would like to, thank everybody for coming here today and listening to our presentation. Yes, thank you for putting up your contact information. And also, I'll put my email address in the chat if anybody else wants to reach out and ask me questions later on as well. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. That is the end of our presentation today, and make sure to keep coming to our wayfinding sessions as we help support professional learning across the state with 3CSN. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Everyone stay safe.
Thank you, everyone.